My dear learner, you are welcome back to today's lesson on quadratic graph and its interpretation. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel by just clicking on the subscribe button just beneath the video. Thank you for doing that. The graph you see on your screen is the graph of the function f of x equals 5 minus 4x minus x squared. This graph can be divided vertically into two equal parts by drawing a vertical line through the turning point, and on this graph our turning point is found at the top there, which is negative 2, 9. So we draw our straight line, which is in short dashes, and that line divides the graph into two equal parts, and this line is called the line of symmetry. If you are able to draw the line of symmetry, then it is easy to know or to write the equation of the line of symmetry. The equation of the line of symmetry for this diagram you see on the screen is s equals negative 2. Someone would ask, where from the negative 2? The negative 2 is the x coordinate of the turning point. Again, it is the value on the x axis where our vertical line or the line of symmetry passes. So the line of symmetry passes through negative 2 on the x axis, and because it is equation, we write s equals, then we bring the s value through which the line of symmetry passes, and that is negative 2. I hope this is understandable. Now, we want to find our maximum or minimum point. For this graph, it would be our maximum point because the point at the top there, which is our turning point, is the highest point you find on the graph. Now, on the graph, questions are asked by using the graph to find answers to them. Therefore, we have to draw another horizontal line from the turning point to touch our y-axis, and that is what you see also in blue. That is our horizontal line. All these lines, that is the vertical line symmetry, line of symmetry, and this horizontal line, serve as evidence that you read the values from the graph, so they are very necessary. Now, we want to find our maximum point. This is the maximum point, that is the turning point or the vertex is our maximum point because it occupies the highest position on the graph. So our maximum point is negative 2, 9. Let me tell you this, in some questions, instead of telling you to find the maximum point or to find the minimum point, they may say find the maximum or the minimum point. The reason being that they don't want you to know either the graph opens downward or upwards. Immediately they say find the maximum point, it gives you the clue that the graph opens downward, like what you see on the screen. And if they tell you to find the minimum point, then it gives you the clue that the graph opens upward. So to avoid that, they tell you to find the maximum or the minimum point. But on this graph, it is the maximum point, and that is the turning point would give us the maximum point, and that is -2, 9. When you know the maximum point or the minimum point on other graphs, then it is easy to find the maximum value or the minimum value. So for this graph, we find the maximum value. What would be the maximum value? The maximum value would be the y coordinate of the maximum point, which is 9. So the line, the horizontal line here, would help us to find that. We read the value of y for that horizontal line. But without reading that, though you have drawn the line to serve as evidence, we can straight away pick the y coordinate of the maximum point as our maximum value. So our maximum value of the function is 9. That one is not an equation, so you just write 9. There is something I want you to do for me. Once again, this is the graph of the function f of s equals 5 minus 4x minus s squared. When you equate the function to 0, as you see on the screen, and you solve, you may get 2s values. I want you to find that for me by pausing the video. I hope you are done. Those values are the solution or the roots, and that is s equals -5 and s equals 1. But on the graph, when you are asked to use your graph to find the solution, never go and calculate. They can be found on the graph. Where on the graph can we find the solution? The solution is found on the graph at where the graph intersects the x-axis. And we can see that on the graph or the curve intersects at 2 points on the x-axis. One of them is at the left-hand side, which is -5, and the other one is at the right-hand side, which is 1. And this would be our solution. So we write s equals -5 and s equals 1. Again, never calculate for the values whilst you have your graph, and whilst the question demands that you use your graph to find the solution. Now, if you know the solution, then it is easy to write the solution set. The word set means that it should be written in a curly bracket because 6 are written in a curly bracket. And since the values are the values of x, we write x is such that then our answers or the solution or the roots follow. X is such that s is equal to -5. Then you bring your comma, s is equal to 1. Then you close your curly bracket. Someone would ask, what of if the graph opens upwards? If the graph opens upwards, like what you see on the screen, our line of symmetry is similar to that of the first one, which opens downwards. Our line of symmetry will pass through the turning point, and this our turning point is -1, -4. So this will be our line of symmetry, which must pass through the turning point. Now, when you know that, as we have already done, then the equation of the line of symmetry would be s equals -1, because the line of symmetry passes through the value of x on the graph, which is -1. Quickly, we move to the maximum or minimum point. But for this graph, you can all see that this is the lowest, the point occupying the lowest position on the graph. The rest are higher above that, and therefore this will be our minimum point. So whenever the graph opens upwards, we have a minimum point, and our minimum point for this graph would be the turning point or the vertex, which is -1, -4. Then, because we know the minimum point, we can find the minimum value of the function, and that is the y value of the minimum point, and that is -4, where you draw your horizontal line from the turning point to touch the y-axis, and you read that value, and it is -4. And I said if you don't want to read from the graph, still this horizontal line must be drawn, and then you pick the y coordinate. The line is drawn to serve as an evidence that you read the values from the graph, so never forget that. Then our solution would be where the graph cuts or intersects or crosses the x-axis, and that for the left side we have -3 on the x, and then we have 1 on the right, where the graph cuts or crosses the x-axis. So we have our solution as s equals -3 and x equals 1. Then the solution set finally would be s is such that s is equal to -3 and s is equal to 1. So today, this is where we would end. Whilst you can draw your vertical line, that is your line of symmetry, and you can find the equation of line of symmetry, that would lead us to finding the values on the graph where x increases and y decreases, or vice versa, which would be our next topic. May God be with you all. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. We shall meet again on this same platform. Bye.